Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Today's episode is part of a 6-part mini-series focused around firefighter cancer, particulate protection, and decontamination. This is brought to you by our main partner for this mini-series, PGI, and supported by DWIPE, SimTrainer UK, and G2SR. Thanks for coming back to the podcast, and I'll see you on the other side. What are some of the most common things people get wrong when they think about trauma in relation to something like this? Because we focus on the physical elements of it, don't we?
We sure do. And I think some of the things that are out there is that people keep it all in and it's just affecting them. But in my situation, and I know others haven't heard lovely stories today, the ripple effect of how that trauma is transferred to those closest to us, whether we realise it or not, and the impact of it on them is often stronger. I think the guilt for me was having them go through it, having to tell my mum, having to tell my husband, having to tell my little boy, and seeing their upset was much harder than anything that I had to deal with physically. So for me, that was one of the biggest things.
It's something that came through so powerfully when I was just sat here. I've just done literally nearly an hour with Martin's family, his wife and his son, and to hear it from that different lens and that different perspective, the son seeing the death of his father's identity, as well as his physical ability, his ability to provide, his ability, you as a mother, you know, your ability to care for someone, to be the rod, to be the compass, to be the rock. Yeah. Having those things ripped away from you, and that person, your child, seeing you change. Yeah. You know. Yeah. That's so surreal. When I was just listening to the two of you outside, I was like, this is surreal, because you both had. I always say it's like they're not exactly the same, but they rhyme. Do you know what I mean? It's so different to hear people's stories in the way that they've gone through this sort of thing. For people, just for a bit of context, Michelle, what was your diagnosis?
So I had stage 3 breast cancer, and it was HER2 positive, which is human something growth factor. It's a protein. I should know the name of it at this stage. It's just gone from my mind right now. It's not the usual type of breast cancer. Usually people are hormone positive, estrogen positive. Mine was very weakly estrogen positive, and it was basically the protein that normally divides our cells. It was an overexpression of that. And because it was diagnosed during pregnancy, it amplified the growth. So while I felt literally a little lump underneath my arm, it was actually a 15 centimetre tumour that went right into my chest wall. And I had no idea.
15 centimetres?
15 centimetres.
Wow.
Yeah.
So give us a bit of context. So this was during your pregnancy. How old would you have been?
I was 33.
33.
Second pregnancy. First one, I breastfed the first baba. Apparently breastfeeding is a protective factor for breast cancer. So if you've breastfed a baby, you're much less likely to get breast cancer. Okay. Which I thought, great. So that was one of the things that kind of smacked me as well, was that I couldn't give the second baby what I gave the first baby. So the guilt of that alone.
From day one, you feel like you're failing as a mum.
Absolutely. But then I'm kind of scooting around the question that you asked initially, but one of the things that really struck me and still stays with me is that my body was doing something super destructive, but something super perfect at the same time. And when he was born, all I kept saying was like, has he got 10 fingers? Has he got 10 toes? Is he okay? I could not believe that he was perfect. And yet my body was growing this 15 centimetre disgusting thing at the same time.
Did you have any concern that you would pass the cancer on? I don't know if that's a stupid thing to ask.
No, at that point, no.
I think I see it as a type of infection, and I feel like that...
No, it's a separate body living independently. It's almost like a second pregnancy.
Exactly.
If you will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about it at that time, but since then, since I've kind of looked into it a little bit more, I am still thinking about how that might affect. Now I've got 2 boys. If they were girls, they'd be slightly higher risk, but I still do have to watch out for that. And if they have girl children, then obviously there might be some sort of genetic piece there that we haven't just discovered yet.
One thing that I found strange and slightly concerning and surprising was you two were talking about the manner in which you were informed of your cancers, the way in which it was described to you. And this isn't a finger poke at the NHS or anything like that, but I suppose in retrospect, it might be useful for people to understand as well. When you were initially told information, when you were given that fatal news, the C-bomb that everyone's fearing, how was it delivered? Reflecting back on it now, what advice would you have for somebody, I suppose? And take us into that exact moment. Because I know you went by yourself, didn't you?
I did. So
you don't think you even told your wife?
Nope.
I remember, yeah.
I kept it as much as I could close to my chest. So for a little while, I was pissing blood, ultimately. And I was running a lot, so I just put it down to the basics. And Dr. Google also said that it was friction from distance running. So I never thought that I was going to be, receive a diagnosis. I never did. I went to the hospital thinking it was a very quick process. I saw the GP in the morning, Dr. Mabratu, I love her. She then, within 2 minutes, was on the phone saying, I've got a guy, he's coming to see you this afternoon, you need to see him at 1 o'clock. So within 2 hours, I was from the GP to the hospital, 7 miles away. I was then seen, they did the ancillary stuff first, so the kidney checks, the ultrasound, the less invasive stuff. And I was still thinking, it's going to be a UTI or it's going to be a kidney stone or something. Then I went into the ante-room, and I'll always remember a smally girl, still makes me sad. She would have been 8 or 9, and it seems she's probably just had a cystoscopy, because it hurts anyway. And obviously she just had a camera where it should never go in an 8-year-old little girl. So she was in absolute... And I remember thinking, if I could have taken that from her almost. Sorry. Going into the room was interesting, yeah, sure. So I got changed, obviously, into a gown and then laid on the table. And it was really cool, actually. The nurses were quite funny, communicative and brave, to be fair, because it's a shit butty they give people every day,
Their level of candour must be...
Oh, Christ.
Top levels, pro-level
dark
gurus.
Stuff. Oh, we're not pissed. So, and obviously it was a cold day, and I did mention, actually, it's a little bit cold, so I tried to slap it around a bit before I get some blood in it. So I laid on the table, and she was doing what she was doing, and it was a good chat. How many kids you got? Usual, what do you do for a living? Fat, must be exciting, all that stuff. And then this is going to tickle a little bit. And I'll always remember the NHS should have, the stuff they use in Stilagel goes down the urethra, and it's meant to be left for about 5 minutes. Yeah. It gives you a numbing effect. Yeah. The NHS being busy, they give it about 5 seconds. So it's a lubricant, not a numbing
There's
effect.
a queue outside, come on.
So she got this thing, and off she went, and I'm no. Of course, your muscles are contracting because you don't want this thing coming in, and you need to relax, and they're telling you to relax and cough and all these things. And Jesus Christ. Anyway, so still fairly humorous that I've got a small penis. No, I'm joking. But, going through my urethra, and then all of a sudden it just stopped, and then she said, "You need to look at the screen. Do you want to?" And I'm like, "Just get this thing out of me." And she says, "No, you must look at the screen." So I looked at the screen, and then this thing, as you said, this disgusting thing was there with its own blood supply, almost beating.
Yours was like floating around, wasn't it? Because it was in...
So it was attached to the bladder.
Attached to the bladder, wasn't it?
It was actually like coral.
Yeah, he said,
so
a little waving.
Corally thing next to my left ureter, so next to my left kidney. And I'll always remember it, then darkness came into the room pretty much. And then, so I wasn't told, I saw. So she didn't say, "You have cancer." She said, "Look at the screen. That will be a malignant tumour." Oh, bollocks. So then she pulled this thing out, and it's kind of, when it goes in, you want to walk backwards, and when it's pulling out, you want to walk with it because you don't want it to come out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she pulled it out, and then, as I said, I walked from there into the ante-room, into the other room, and the numbness. The numbness. I wasn't physically told because there were no results other than a physical screen. And then, as I said, I fainted, which was quite comical, obviously, and then walked back in going, shit. And then 7 stitches, which was quite amusing. But that moment in time was just, it just changed our lives forever. I will never be the person I was. I'm not humorous, and I don't have that emotion of cuddling people. I'm lost still, and it's 12 years down the line. So I'll never.
Do you ever get angry about it?
Absolutely, bitterly angry.
It's annoying, isn't it? Because I'm sitting here as though I'm relating to the two of you. I'm not, and I can't. But when I do hear these stories, and I was just speaking with Martin's family as well, my overwhelming feeling is one of anger, of the ridiculous shit we worry about half the time. Champagne problems.
Yeah.
You know.
And I
take
think
to us, because so you were going through the pregnancy.
Yes.
When you started to feel.
Yeah. So initially I felt a lump, and
in your breast, in the
just
top of your or under your arm, sorry,
underneath my arm.
So
kind
lymph
of on
gland
the corner of where the breast tissue meets the kind of underneath the arm, the axilla. Right. It was still in breast tissue, but like it was hard
How
to
did
kind
you
of
know?
describe.
For any, I know there's mannequins and demonstration units that people can use. If I had to force you to describe it, what did it feel like that was different from your normal tissue? It is beyond a privilege to be able to bring the Firefighters podcast to you, and we are so grateful for every single person that supports, listens, shares, and follows our journey. But here's the honest truth. It takes a colossal amount of time and work to keep the podcast going. And to help us keep doing it, create more, reach more guests internationally, and make the podcast sustainable, we're asking for you to help. And to do this, we've set up a Patreon page. Now, by joining this, you'll not only support the future of the podcast, but also gain access to exclusive benefits. Now, if you've ever wanted to meet a member of the podcast, buy us a beer, buy us a coffee, and you think anything you've ever listened to on the podcast has been worth £3, that's basically what we're asking you for. By joining our Patreon community, you will get access to every single full episode archive we have ever made. Now, hundreds and hundreds of key documents that we've got in there on fire behavior, firefighter health, cancer risks, incident debriefs, and so much more. A growing collection of valuable resources to help you learn and grow. So by joining the Patreon for just £3, you'll unlock everything we've ever created, alongside discounts on merch, your support in whatever way, dropping it in the WhatsApp group, sharing it on the local newsletter, whatever it is. It's incredibly valuable, and we really do support it, and we need it to make it a long-lasting resource, that legacy resource we always talk about for first responders, firefighters, and everybody everywhere who's ever been interested in joining the fire service or who absolutely loves the job. Now, if you're already supporting something, as many people do, it's totally cool. You can still access the podcast for free, and you'll always be able to access all the new episodes for free, but we're asking for your help to make this sustainable. And if you want to do something free, follow us on our YouTube, subscribe to it, rate us on Spotify, whatever platform you listen to, and we want to keep growing, we want to keep sharing the insights, and we want to keep showcasing the incredible work happening in our community and our sector. So if you feel like you want to join the Patreon crew and help us make this possible, head to patreon.com/TFFPC or check the link in any episode podcast notes. Thank you for supporting us. We'll see you on the other side.
So I rolled over. I was in bed. I rolled over and I kind of went, whoa. And I got an uncomfortable feeling. And then I went, oh, what's that? And that's how I felt it. So it was kind of really hard. It moved. And I kind of initially thought, maybe I should get that checked out. But didn't go straight away. Mentioned it to the GP. The GP thought it was kind of because I was pregnant, thought it was hormonal.
How far through your pregnancy were you?
34 weeks. So I was, in one way, lucky that it was late and the baby could be born. And it often goes through my mind if there would be different decisions that would have had to be made if it was earlier.
It's like, in a very diluted sense, when we do the whole, do you defib a pregnant woman? And we go, yeah, if mummy dies, baby dies.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not kill baby, but if baby dies, okay.
Yeah.
But we've got to save mummy.
Yeah.
And if this would have happened earlier on, and you'd be like,
Exactly.
if you both survive, great. If not, we'd prefer you.
Exactly.
So, but like for you, your primate would be like, no, save baby.
Absolutely.
But you'd be like, oh, no, we can't. It's not. It doesn't work. It's like the impossible problem, isn't it? That is just horrific.
The chaos that you must have had.
Well, I didn't really have any decisions because it was taken out of my hands. Like there was nothing I could do to stop it. And I had a wonderful doctor in the maternity hospital that I went to, and I said to her, I went to the GP about this. I went in for a routine checkup with her for the baby, and I said, I went to the GP about this, not really happy with the response I got. Will you have a look? And she said to me,
what was the response? Sorry? So they attributed it to the pregnancy?
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah.
Well, like blocked gland for your...
Hormonal changes, lumpy breasts. That's what he said. And, no...
I know pregnant women are weird, but we can't write everything off. Your hands swell, your boobs swell.
To him, I had no family history. I was young. I was fit. I was healthy. I wasn't a smoker ever.
By the book.
I was, like typical, not your typical breast cancer patient. It never even came into his head. He'd be quite an old-fashioned GP. I got on with him great. He's a lovely man. But the difference was that this woman that I went to see was used to looking at women. And she basically got me to strip off. She said she had me standing in like all sorts of different poses. She was looking. She, you know, when I think about the level of care I got that day, it was unbelievable. And that's what's changed the trajectory of me being here and not. Because she said to me, here's my phone number. Go around the corner like you. Go see this guy and ring me when you come out. Wow. And then I just went, oh, that's a bit strange. But I never really thought at that point.
You didn't even then. You didn't think.
Thought,
you just told me without telling me. You were still
just living. Maybe
willfully,
it was just maybe it was willful neglect or willful ignorance, blindness. Exactly. So round I went anyway. Had to wait to see this guy. He sent me for an ultrasound straight away, and in I went like that into the breast centre. Saw the name and went, ooh. And I was by myself because it was a routine pregnancy checkup. My husband would usually come to those kind of things, but I don't know why he didn't come that day. He was probably working on shift or something. And in I went, and the guy doing the ultrasound, really nice, sat down, did his thing, and then he actually asked me to move a few different directions. So he was taking all his pictures. I didn't get to look at the screen at that point. And then he came and he sat on the bed, and he took off his glasses. And he put his hand, so I'm lying on my side, big, huge bump, as you can imagine. All I was thinking was, I hope he's quick because the parking on the car is going to run out. And if I have to go out and it's going to get clamped. Again. And he put his hand on my knee and he said to me, who's here with you today? Jeez. And I went, what? Who's here with you? And I was like, nobody. I drove in myself. And he said to me, oh. And I said to him, why? And he said, can I call somebody for you? And I was like, why do you need to call somebody?
I'm getting angry now.
And I started like really firm, and I knew he had to send away. So he did a biopsy. He had like, you know, the fine aspiration there and then. He did a really quick biopsy. But he said to me, I need to send off the results, but I think you should prepare for having your baby next week. Jesus. And I was like, what? Why? Why? You know, still oblivious to the fact that what he was telling me was that I had cancer, but he didn't say those words. He had to wait until he had X, Y, and Z. He had all the results back. And that was a Friday afternoon. And I remember just walking out to the car and just bawling, literally bawling. And I sat in the car, must have sat in the car for an hour because I didn't move. My mum was ringing me. She was looking after the kids. Paul was ringing me to check and see how I'd got on. Obviously, everybody had realised I was missing for quite a while. And I remember just blurting out then going, I think I might have cancer. And my mum was like, don't be so stupid. What do you mean? You know? And then as soon as I got home, it kind of all started to sink in. But the deal was, so we went on the Friday, had the ultrasound. I was to go back on Wednesday for official results. So I got to bring somebody with me, unlike you. Paul came with me. In we went. And the consultant that I met was another lovely gent of a man. This man was sent from above, and the nurses that worked with him were the same. And he just started with, your cancer. Oh. And I heard nothing else. No. Nothing else.
Just white noise.
Completely. Yeah, completely. I just heard, your cancer. And I went, oh, fuck. And that was it. I could literally feel my body just wanting to melt away into the floor. And so thankfully Paul was there and he was able to kind of relay afterwards what he had said to me. But that's one of the things that you asked in the beginning was, what would you advise somebody? And I would say never go for these appointments by yourself because you will not remember what they tell you. No. If you're lucky enough to get somebody who's in tune with that, maybe they might write down for you, maybe they might advise you to bring somebody, but you should always try to have someone with you.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What yours? I know Robbie's story. And people can listen back if they want to. Not that I'm less interested in it now. You don't look like you've had cancer. Not saying you haven't had cancer.
I promise I did. I have a few scars.
I'm saying that as a framing of hope, with respect, to people that either know someone that's just had that meeting, or going into that meeting, have just felt something in the shower, feel a little bit off, and feel like they're not themselves. You're a little bit like the light at the end of the tunnel that I thought was a cave. You were probably heading into that going, I'm going to die. I'm really annoyed that I'm going to die. because my child is really small and the other one's not born yet, and this isn't fair.
Absolutely.
Why me?
Yeah.
That's it.
Help me try and close that loop. I know there's impossible to do a short version of this, but
Yeah.
you look great for someone that's
Thanks.
had cancer. Talk us through that.
I didn't always look this way.
I would imagine not.
All the
he
way
looks,
through.
He looks terrible.
You know,
He looks lovely.
I look like I had your haircut 8 years ago.
Okay.
So it wasn't always like this. I know you're looking for the message of hope.
No,
There's a bit
no,
of,
no, no,
There's
no,
a bit
no,
of setting expectations here too. You know.
It's going to hurt.
Yes.
Brutal.
Yeah.
In all respects, I would suggest.
Yeah.
There is no
It's
way
not the
around
film.
that.
No,
You ain't
there's not a
getting away from-
soundtrack and a video montage.
No, it's not Bette Midler on the beach.
Exactly.
You know.
And mental health will always be with us. We will always suffer the black dog, always. And regardless of who you are, you've had a cancer diagnosis, and there's the fear of recurrence.
It's
Always.
coming back.
For me, it's a weekly, and I've been on. I don't do them now, but I was on antidepressants for a long time because I just couldn't cope with life, with it all. It just is ghastly. I think is the word. And that's probably, I'm not speaking for you, but
No, but I think kind of thinking back to your original question in terms of the message of hope and stuff, for me, I made some decisions based on what happened. And I think if I was still working in the fire service now, I would be putting myself more at risk. So I'd still be doing the night shifts. I'd still be exposing myself to the toxins. And I wasn't prepared to take those risks. So maybe the fact that I am how I am now is based on the choices that I've made as a result of all the treatment and all the, obviously that all worked, which was wonderful for me. Not everybody is as lucky.
of course.
But I made those choices because I want to do as much as I can to stay here.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that somebody who goes back to the fire service after a cancer diagnosis doesn't want to be here. Just that's a choice that they're making. And then, we can never really truly tell that was why I got sick. But it's just...
It's too many coincidences.
There's so many things
Yes,
that have lined up.
and that's the point I'm listening in for, not for you to drop that bomb or that knowledge bomb or that accusation or that answer to anything, but I wonder if this is a job for life. I'm 35. I might have 20 years left in this longer. I've done nearly 20 already. I've done 17, 18. I wonder if this is a job for life. And if it is a job for life, is that by design or by luck?
A bit of both.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
I personally think it would be by luck. I think we set ourselves up to fail in terms of physical expectations, shift work, and the damage through lack of sleep, work-life balance, financial. I think it is a difficult balance that would happen by luck rather than by design.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that we can change about the design of the job, and that's why we're here today.
Yeah.
And
Would you get your daughter to join? Nothing wrong with saying no. I'm not saying, I'm not encouraging you to say no either for the sake of the podcast. Oh, say
no.
something.
I've got two who are different kids, and one of them is very service orientated, whether that's army, fire, police. It changes. He's like almost 9, so it changes by the week. And I would like to think that if he does go down that road, that the service will have changed drastically by then. That things will be better for the work that Robbie and others are doing in this world to get the education. But I would hope that they would be much more informed about what they're letting themselves in for, because I don't think I really was. Now, maybe that was my own lack of trying to find out, and my own lack of kind of information in the beginning. But I don't think I signed up thinking when I got in, that's it. This is me, best job in the world. And in some ways it was, until it wasn't, So I think it can be a job for life. It would be a better job for life if people were valued a little bit more and the numbers didn't take precedence over the lives in terms of contaminants.
I think we start out of passion and romance. That's why I started, because I love it and I loved it and I still love it. I think we stay out of stubbornness sometimes. We have an investment bias. I've done it for 15 years, Robbie. I've done it for 20 years.
You can see the light.
golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. But then you're almost like trying to limp across the line, dodge the dropping icicles, don't fall down the trapdoor, don't get cancer.
Statistically, we knew when we joined that potentially some of us would die. I lost two colleagues in Shirley Towers. I knew both Jim and Alan, bless their souls. We knew when we signed up that the risks were there inherently, that the ceiling might fall on us, or we might
Physical risks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We didn't expect, and we should have been informed. 1982, we knew about this shit.
I was about to say.
9/11, we knew about this shit. 2001, it was all over the news. We didn't.
That's what I'm saying.
All about it.
Ceiling might fall. We gave you a helmet.
Yeah.
This.
Exactly that. There's nothing.
We're rapidly approaching, and I've said it 3 times today, but I'll say it again. We're rapidly approaching corporate negligence. Yeah, this is almost malicious. You're aware of it now.
Yep.
I know money's a challenge. I get all of those things, but you're not even screaming about it.
Yeah.
Like if you, as senior leadership, were screaming about it and joining me in this fight.
Exactly.
I'm not asking you to offer a solution, because I get 80% of your money is on staff and everything else, and all the other, really everything's a priority. But at least share with me in this fight. Join the journey.
Yeah. And look to the other services that have done that. Look to Canada.
I look at that as well, though. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We don't have to look too far.
But even services in the other framework of, some people say, "Oh, you've got it really good in fire." Yeah. Well, have you seen how hard the police work? The paramedics never see it. I'm like, just because my neighbour abuses their kids doesn't mean I should.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because they never, a very salacious extreme example, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just because police officers and paramedics are very poorly treated doesn't mean we should. It's not a race to the bottom.
Exactly that.
It's not a race to the bottom in terms of finances and work-life balance. And, the average length of a paramedic, I think, is like 7 years. And they have to have a university degree to get in. Like, we're losing money on people now. People joining in their 20s, staying for 5 years and going, this is ridiculous. Like, sounds great, guys, and I love it, but pay's not great, and apparently they're all getting cancer.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And you just go, sounds fun. Yeah. Like, I'd love to do skydiving every week, but it's really expensive and I might die. So it's there's no solutions, only trade-offs. I want to be respectful of our time, because I know there's some awards about to take place, and John's just giving me a little nod through the door. Michelle, I'd love to have a follow-up conversation with you. I feel like we've been constructed. Jesus, we've been going for nearly half an hour already anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Flashes by, doesn't it?
Flies, huh?
Robbie, it's always a pleasure to spend time with you, mate. I love you dearly. Thank you for constantly coming, because you will retire soon, but this is the irony of it. I'm like, this stuff isn't going to help you, so why the hell are you doing it? And that's the difference when, they say true leadership is when people are planting trees under which they'll never sit. And I feel like that's what you're doing. You've left. You're about to leave. So
I think we've got a beautiful future ahead of us.
But that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
But this stuff isn't going to benefit you.
No, well,
and you're still doing it. And I say that as a compliment, because this is the truest sense of authenticity. Because if I was doing it, I might be like, well, I'm investing in this because in case I get cancer. Yeah. I'm kind of an insurance policy.
Our souls will be better for it.
Quite
honestly.
There's absolutely, and there's another concept that we'll go into another time called post-traumatic growth, and I think that's exactly what any of us who go through this, who are able to give back, that's what's happening.
Yeah, we'll stick a pin in that one for next time.
Yes,
guys, thank you very much.
Let's
get in there.
Take care.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Hope you took a lot away from that episode. We started the Firefighters podcast to develop, inspire, connect, motivate, represent, and most importantly, celebrate the world of incredible emergency services operators and the wider sector through this series of wide-ranging conversations. We really love creating this podcast and bringing it to so many people. Did you know you can also find these on YouTube? We do a lot of video podcasts now. You can head over to our YouTube page and follow, subscribe there. And as a final ask from us, whatever platform you're on, please rate the podcast. It really helps us as a key performance indicator to reach more and more people. I've been your host, Pete Wakefield. This has been the Firefighters Podcast. And wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, be happy, live with intention, and where possible, please remember and support your firefighters and first responders. I'll see you next time.